it's Darby from rejoiceandcreate.com. I hope you're all having a wonderful Advent season, getting ready for when love is coming down for all of us. Well, today I have a really cute project for you, and it's this. It's a little tree favor, and the base of it is actually a Keurig Swiss Miss hot cocoa cup. And inside the tree are a couple of the little miniature candy canes and a handful of Hershey's Kisses that you can stir into your hot cocoa, including these little guys, which are hot cocoa kisses. And this is what the bag looks like. Hot cocoa Hershey Kisses. And on the back of it, I have a little tag that says hot chocolate is like a hug in the mug. And that comes from Hug in a Mug from Stampin' Up! This set. But there are many hot chocolate sentiments out there, and you can use what you have. But I do have another version, and that's this one. And this is more of an after dinner type gift for maybe adults after a dinner that perhaps would like to have an after dinner liqueur in theirs. And there's a little bottle of Bailey's Irish Cream that will mix into the hot cocoa. And actually in this one, you could also put not just hot cocoa, but you could also use some of the cappuccinos in there as well, because the Baileys would taste very nice. And they have many different of the cappuccinos that will mix into hot water or milk instead. Now, if you're worried about giving a K-cup to people, they actually will open up and mix into hot water, and that's what I put in my little star. Now, you see I used a half-inch strip of cardstock that was probably about 4 inches long, and I put no Keurig, no problem. Empty contents into 6 ounces hot water or milk, because you can just open it up and pour it in. It's just like the little packets. So what you need for this project is a piece of paper, and I looked for one that I like the outside of the tree to look like. That is 6 inches by 8 inches. For the star top, I just used some gold foil where I could punch 2 stars from. A half-inch piece of cardstock that was 4 inches long. Now you also need a piece of cardstock that you can punch out circles with. And what I used the circle for was for the base of the tree, and that's what you stick the Keurig cup through. And to prepare that, we'll go ahead and do that right now, but to prepare that I needed a 2.5-inch circle punch or die cut, a die, and a 1 3/4 inch. Now the 1 3/4 inches is very specific because that's what the Keurig fits into. So what I did first was I went ahead and centered this on my cardstock, like that. And the other circle I used was a 2.5-inch circle punch, and you can use a die cut or a punch, and I'm using the punches because I have them. If you're doing the punches, punch the 1 1/4 out first, and then center the 2.5 around it. Now, the 2.5 is not a magic number, but it's an easy number to work with, because when I line up the outside of the tree, it will line up right along the perimeter of the circle. If you don't have 2.5, you can go slightly bigger. You just have to take a little bit more care in lining up the bottom of your tree. And I'll show you what I mean when we get to that point. All right, to score our tree, we're actually going to start with the 6-inch side up. Now, if you have a directional pattern, you want the up to be on the right side. So we're going to score the base, and this is the bottom of it, at 1/2 inch. Okay, now turn it with the long side, the 8-inch side up, and score it at 1 1/4, 2.5, 3 3/4, 5 inches, 6 1/4, and 7 1/2. And basically that is every 1 1/4 inches from the left to the right, with a 1/2 inch as a tab. Now what we're going to do is just go ahead and flip it over, because we're going to have some scores that will fold in as well, and this will be just right in the middle of each of your 1 1/4 inch sections. So you want it every 5/8 of an inch. You want it the 5/8 mark is the center of the 1 1/4, so you're going to end up right in there. So start with the 5/8 inch, and don't worry, score all the way down. We're not stopping anywhere. And again, 5/8 would be at 1 7/8. at 3 1/8, at 4 3/8, at 5 5/8, at 6 7/8, and there we are. Okay, so let's go ahead and fold it. So all the original folds we're going to fold in a mountain fold, and just make sure you're lined up on the edges. And all the other folds we're just going to fold the other way. And go ahead and fold that 1/2 inch on the bottom as well. Okay, so you have, it's pretty close, but you have 5/8 inch sections, a whole bunch of them, and then you have a 1/2 inch glue line, glue tab. So go ahead and cut on the bottom, right below that 1/2 inch tab, that bottom little square off. All right, so now we're going to glue our tab. So go ahead and just put an adhesive down. And I'm just going to roll the edge over, because mine's full over a little bit. Okay, so fold that over and then just meet it with the other side, making sure the top and the bottom are lined up. And this is what you have. Doesn't quite look like a tree yet, but we're getting closer. And now on the bottom, what you want to do is to just angle a little miter on these tabs to make them be able to fold in a little bit easier. So kind of pinch together an edge with one of the score lines that's actually the mountain fold. That will be the point out of the tree. And then go ahead and take a pair of scissors, and we're just going to trim probably about a 45-degree angle off of that. Okay, now fold it over, miss the valley, and go to the next mountain fold and do the same thing. And then we're going to do that all the way around. All right, so this just helps you glue the bottom to the circle we created before. Like that. All right, so here's the circle I created before. And the reason I did a 2.5 inch on the outside of it is because when I lined this tree up, and if I put every outside fold right on the edge of the perimeter, it lines up my tree base evenly. You can see that there's going to be areas of the circle which won't be stuck to it because they're sticking out. We're going to cut those off in a minute, so you don't have to worry about having glue on all of it. I just go ahead and put glue all the way around everything. Just be careful not to stick your fingers to parts which are not going to be covered by the tree. And this is probably the fussiest part of it. But we're actually going to land this on there so that all these mountain points, all the outside points of the tree, line up right on the outer edge of my circle. And you can see that the outer points of all of these line up just at the perimeter of the circle. So go ahead and hold that down for a minute. And then I just turn it over and make sure that all these flaps are stuck to it as well. Oops, sorry about that, out of frame. And then I turn that over just to make sure that all these flaps are stuck there as well. All right, so while I'm waiting for that to finish drying, I went ahead and stamped the stamp from Hug in a Mug, or you can use Wishing You a Sweet Season, Sending You Warm Thoughts, whatever you find that is a nice sentiment. And I wanted something longer because I was going to hang it down like a tag from the top of the tree. So what I use is Hot Chocolate is Like a Hug in the Mug, and I stamped it on there on the edge of a paper. Like I would sit this on here, I'd stamp it right on the edge, and then I cut it off, and it ended up being 3/4 of an inch wide. And this is about, let's see, 3.5 inches long. Now I wanted the top of it to be a bit rounded to make it look nice, but after I cut it, I had trouble fitting it into my corner rounder because it was so narrow. So what I did was I actually fed it into my 1-inch punch and lined it up, centered it, and punched it. And that gave me a nice rounded top. And then what I did is just went ahead and hand flagged the edges. Prepare this one by putting some linen thread through a hole in the top. Alright, so our bottom of our tree has gotten dried pretty much now. You do want it to wait to dry because otherwise it makes, when I do this, it's going to make my scissors a little sticky. And I'll have to use some glue gun to get them off. But that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and cut from side to side all these little arcs that kind of protrude from the base of the tree. Okay. Alright, I'm using my 1/16 of an inch handheld circle punch, and I'm going to punch it about halfway between the score line and the outside fold. Just maybe about, actually I'm using the side of my punch as a guide, so let's see where that ends up being. So maybe it's about 3/8 of an inch from the top, and I'm going to do that all the way around. Alright, so now I'm going to put the K-cup in, and you'll notice that inside the inner circle, the part of the flaps are sticking out. And what those will do is they'll kind of hold the K-cup snugly, so it will keep the tree from sliding down once you put your K-cup in. So let's go ahead and drop our K-cup in. Alright, and we're going to gently bring it out the center of the circle, and you'll see that those tabs will fold back on the side of the K-cup. Okay, and just gently snug it up until the rim of the K-cup is at the base of the tree. Alright, because we don't want to stick anything that's going to stick up their Keurig machine, if they're indeed using this for a Keurig machine, we're going to stick that with a little bit of washi tape around the outside, or you can use a little bit of cellophane tape as well. If you use the washi tape, because it's not a perfect cylinder, it actually kind of comes in at the bottom. I'm going to use a bit narrower one so it's easier for me to contour it to the cup. And I'm going to hide this with ribbon, so it's really, unless you don't want to, if you want to just use it as the decoration around the edge. But I'm actually going to put a ribbon with a bow around the bottom, so if this doesn't look perfect or look wonderful, that's okay. We're going to hide it. Alright, so bring that all the way around and to get to the point again, and this will hold it, but you'll still be able to get the K-cup out of there. Okay, and rub your fingers around, make sure that's kind of sticking as best it can. Alright, and you can see so that it prevents the tree part of it from sliding down the cup. Now find your seam. Where's my seam? Okay, that's my seam, so I'm going to put my seam to the back, and I'm going to start threading my linen thread through, and I'll just hold it and thread it through this way. Now, if you want to now, you can put in some candy canes, and you put some kisses in, or if it's going to be for an adult party, you can go ahead and put in maybe some peppermint schnapps if you want to have some peppermint with some cocoa, and that will fit in there as well. But I'm going to go ahead and use the candy canes and the kisses. So let me put a couple of candy canes in and throw all these kisses in. Okay, move that aside for a second. And I've got my 2 stars punched out of gold foil. And here's my 1/2 inch by 4 inch piece of cardstock. So on this one, what I'm going to do is glue on both sides of my star and glue it on the end. So I'll go ahead and center this on one side. And I'll take my other star And let me put that glue on there. Center this one on my other star. So now that I've got my star glued on there, I'm going to write on my middle, no Keurig. Question? No problem. All right, so let's go ahead and snug up the top of our tree. And I'm going to tie a bow. Now this is one of those things that they're going to have to destroy the packaging to get everything out. So this is one of those things that you want to decorate for fun, but it's not something that's going to last for a while. All right, let's make our stars even, make our tree folds even. All right, so I tied my bow, and I'm going to leave these hanging long because I think that's pretty. So I'll cut them about down there. And I'm going to take my star and I'm going to tuck it into two opposite of the folds. Let me open that up a little bit so you see I have two opposite folds. I'm just going to tuck that right down. All right, so it's right like that. Now around the back, I'm going to go ahead and pull one of my legs of my tag up through underneath the thread that's gathering it. And then I'm just going to tie them both in an overhand knot. All right, so now I'm going to tie my bow on, and right on the back, it's probably about maybe 18 inches long, and right in the center of the back I'm going to put a little adhesive on. It's going to stick to the washi tape, but it'll help me keep the ribbon on the K-cup because it's not quite cylindrical, so it's kind of hard sometimes to keep it up there where you're tying it. And let me go ahead and stick this part to the back of my cup right underneath where the tree ends. Let me stick it there and I'll show you where I'm at. See, right under there where the tree ends to hide that washi tape and the little flaps. And I'm going to go ahead and tie it in a bow, or you can tie it in a knot. As I said, this tree holder has to be destroyed to get the stuff out, but it can be as festive as you want it. And now comes the fun part, and I'm decorating it with every single enamel dot, rhinestone. These are jot stickers from the Dollar Tree. Every single colorful one that I have, I'm going to throw on the tree for ornaments. If you have glitter dots, if you have enamel shapes, I mean, they all would make beautiful decorations for your Christmas tree. So probably in each section I land down about 3 in various places. And it's a great way to use these all up, frankly. Okay, so you can decorate as much or as little as you want. And as I said, you can use all those rhinestones and pearls and every little enamel dot and clear crystal shape that you want. Or if you don't have that, you can use stickles or the Nuvo drops, anything that you want to decorate your tree. So that's my project today. A K-cup hot cocoa tree or cappuccino that will hold either some candy to stir in or a little bit of an after-dinner liqueur for your adult guests. So if you like the video, please subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to be notified of new videos as I upload them. If you need more information on this project or others, please go to rejoiceandcreate.com. And as always, until we meet again, I hope your days are blessed. Bye!